I welcome you all in this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about part 2 of unit number 1. So this is the first lecture on part 2 of this unit number 1, and part 2 is a design against static load. So let us start this video lecture. Now let us first discuss about the content of this lecture, or this content of this part 2, that is design against static load. So first article from this part 2 is knuckle joint, then socket and spigot cotter joint, and third one is a lever. So in this lever we are going to focus on a lever loaded safety valve and a right angled bell crank lever. And this part 2 consists of numerical treatment. That means we have to solve the numericals based on design of knuckle joint, design of socket and spigot cotter joint, and design of levers. So first we'll start this lecture from the outcome. So at the end of this lecture you will able to answer the following questions. What is a knuckle joint? What are the parts in the knuckle joint? What are the applications of knuckle joint? What are the geometric parameters of knuckle joint? What approach is used to design a knuckle joint? So these are the basic questions related to knuckle joint, and you will get the answers of these questions at the end of this lecture. So in this picture I have shown the three-dimensional knuckle joint. So through this 2D part you will be able to understand what are the different parts in the knuckle joint. So this part, which is having a double end, two ends, this part is known as fork. So you can see here, this is the first end of this fork and this is the second end of this fork, that is shown in this 3D picture. So it has two ends, and the part which has two ends is called as fork. Then the second one is eye. So eye has only one end, and that is shown in this three-dimensional picture here. So this is eye. So this eye and fork has ends which has feature like a hollow cylinder. So this fork end is having two hollow cylinders at the end, and eye has one hollow cylinder at its end, and it has hole of same diameter, as well as its outer diameter is also same. So this outer diameter of this fork end is same as that of outer diameter of this eye end. Also inner diameter of eye end and inner diameter of fork ends are also same. Then the third part is this part, which is inserted in to the common hole of fork end and eye end, and this part is known as pin, which is shown in this picture. So to assemble this knuckle joint, we have to insert this eye into these two ends of fork. We have to insert this eye end into these two ends of fork. The space is available here in between these two ends, and then we have to insert the pin into common holes of fork end and eye end. So in this way we have seen the different parts in the knuckle joint. So knuckle joint consists of three parts: fork, which has two ends, which has the feature of hollow cylinder at the end. Then second part is eye, which is also has end of having geometrical feature as hollow cylinder, and the third one is pin. This diameter of pin is same as that of inner diameter of this hole. The outer diameter of pin is same as that of inner diameter of this hole. So let us see what is knuckle joint. So knuckle joint is a mechanical element which is used to connect two rods whose axes either coincide or intersect and lie in the one plane. So this basically, you can see here, this is the first rod and this is the second rod. These two rods which are subjected to tensile loads are connected by using this knuckle joint. So these axes are either coincide or intersecting and lie in one plane. These two axes are either coinciding, or if intersecting, then they must lie in the one plane. The knuckle joint is used to transmit the axial tensile force. So as I explained, these two ends of rods are subjected to tensile force. That means if you apply the tensile force on this here on this rod, it will be transferred to this another rod through this knuckle joint. So that means we can say that the knuckle joint is used to transfer the axial tensile force. That means if you apply the tensile force on this end of rod, it will be transferred to the other end of rod through this knuckle joint. Then third point is the construction of this joint permits limited angular movement between two rods about the axis of the pin. So you can imagine if this end of rod is subjected to some angular movement, then it can get that angular motion about the axis of pin. Similarly, if you apply the angular moment to this rod, it can also have the angular moment about this axis of pin. That means about the axis of pin, both the rod can have the limited angular moment. Then the applications of knuckle joint. So already we know that this knuckle joint is used to connect the two rods under tension, that is under tensile force. Very important point, knuckle joint is not suitable to connect the two rotating shafts which transmit the torque. So this is very important point. Remember that this knuckle joint, though it is used to connect the two rods under tension, but it cannot be used to connect two shafts which transmit the torque or which transmit the power. That means this knuckle joint is a non-rotating part. If you at all you want to connect the two shafts, you can use the couplings. The third point is joint between the tie bars in the root truss. This is the first application of knuckle joint. So as shown in this picture, so these are the tie bars, and these are connected using these four knuckle joints. So these are the four tie bars which are connected using these four knuckle joints. So you can clearly see here it has two ends, so which is a fork, and at this center it has one eye. So this is the application of knuckle joint. The tie bars in the root trusses are connected or joint using knuckle joint. The next application is joint between the links of suspension bridge. So in the suspension bridge, in order to get the little angular movement, to get some flexibility in the elements of suspension bridge, this knuckle joint is used, because we know that this knuckle joint permits little angular moment. Then third is the fulcrum of levers. So in the levers also, to get little amount of angular moment between two parts, that is lever and support, this type of knuckle joint is used. And last application is joint between the links of bicycle chain. So this picture shows the bicycle chain. Here you can see it has two ends, so which acts like a fork, and it has another element at the center which acts like a eye, and this is the pin which is inserted between the common hole of this two end fork and one end eye. So in this way we can say that there are number of applications of knuckle joint. So this is the variety of applications, like a joint in the root truss to connect the tie bars, then the joint between the links of suspension bridge in order to get some little amount of flexibility, as this knuckle joint permits little amount of angular movement. Then the fulcrum of levers, that is the joint between lever and the support, so that there is a relative motion between support and lever. And last application is joint between the links of bicycle chain. As we can see here, this chain is mounted over this sprocket, and that's why this chain can get angular movement because it is connected by knuckle joint. Then the next point is geometric parameters of knuckle joint. So you can see this is the cut section of this knuckle joint. This is the front view and this is the top view. So these are the two ends of rods which are connected using this knuckle joint. And this top view shows rod A, rod B, which are to be connected using the knuckle joint. This is the top view of fork end as well as eye end. This is the top view of pin head, and this is dotted line indicates top view of pin. So let us start first D, capital D. So capital D is the diameter of each rod. That means this right side rod and left side rod, these are the two rods, rod A and rod B, and its diameter is capital D. So this is the diameter of rod which are to be connected using this knuckle joint, and these rods are nothing but the leftmost part and rightmost part in this picture. Then capital D1. So you can see after this shaft diameter, this diameter is increased little bit. That means one step is provided after this rod. Diameter is increased little bit at this region. Okay, in this region the diameter is increased. So this is denoted by capital D1, the enlarged diameter of each rod. On both the sides, diameter is enlarged in this region. In this region, the diameter is enlarged on both the sides, and this diameter is same on both the sides, and that is capital D1, enlarged diameter of each rod. Then small a. So as I discussed earlier, this is the fork, and this fork has two ends, and this dimension is nothing but a small a. So this small a is the thickness of this fork ends. So as this fork has two ends, and the small a is the thickness of each fork end. So that's why I have mentioned here the small a is the thickness of each end of fork. Then similarly, we have another component, that is eye, and this thickness of this eye is denoted by small b. So small b is nothing but the thickness of this eye. Then small d. Small d is the diameter of this pin. So this pin is shown here, which is inserted into the common hole of this fork ends, two fork ends and one eye end. So this pin is inserted between the two holes of fork ends and one eye end, and this pin has diameter small d. Then DO. So this, we know that the fork end and eye end has feature like a hollow cylinder, so it must have some outside diameter and it must have some inside diameter. So in top view you can see easily. So this outside diameter of this fork end as well as eye end is same, and it is denoted by DO. So DO is outside diameter of eye or fork end. Then D1. So this pin has head. Okay, this pin has head and its diameter is D1. So this D1 is, this small D1 is the diameter of pin head. And last is X. So X is the distance of the center of fork. So this is the fork, and its center is here. So distance between center of fork and eye end. So this is the end of eye. So this surface is nothing but the end of eye, and this is the center of fork. So distance between the center of fork and eye end is X. So this is about the geometric parameters of knuckle joint. Just we will quickly revise. So capital D is the diameter of each rod which is to be connected using knuckle joint. D1 is the enlarged diameter. So this rod on both the side is enlarged. So this rod is enlarged in this region. Similarly, this rod is enlarged in this region and its diameter is capital D1. Then small a is the thickness of each fork end. So this fork has two ends. So this is the top fork end and this is the bottom fork end, and its thickness is small a. Then B is the thickness of this eye end, so this small b is the thickness of eye end. Then small d, so small d is the diameter of this pin which is inserted into the common hole of fork ends and eye end. Then DO is the outside diameter of this fork end and eye end. So this eye end and fork end has feature like hollow cylinder, and outer diameter of this fork end and eye end is same. Then D1 is the diameter of pin head, diameter of pin head, and X. Now the last geometric parameter is X, and X is the distance between center of this radius R of fork and eye. So this is the eye and this is the center of radius R. So distance between these two is X. Okay, so these are the geometric parameters for the knuckle joint. While designing a knuckle joint, we are going to find out all these geometric parameters, and in order to find out these geometric parameters, we must have the stress equation, and the stress equation can be obtained by considering different modes of failure of single part. So that approach we are going to discuss in the next part of this video. So this is the design approach which is used to design the knuckle joint. The same approach we can use for quarter joint and lever also. So these are the parts of knuckle joint. This is eye, this is fork, and this is pin. This is the assembly of knuckle joint. As we have discussed, this knuckle joint is used to connect two rods which are subjected to tensile load, and because of this tensile load applied at the end of rods, the fork, this eye and pin may subjected to more than one type of stresses, and thus the failure also would occur in more than one type. That means if you consider this eye may get fail in this way also, so that stress which is responsible for this type of failure is different. Similarly, the same part, this eye, may fail in this way, so the stress which is responsible for this type of failure would be different. Similarly, if you consider the pin, so you can see here type of failure of pin, the type of stress which is responsible for this failure of pin is also different, and the same pin may get fail in this way. So here, because of the loading on the pin may get fail in totally different mode. So here I have shown here two different modes of failure of pin, two different modes of failure of eye because of the different stresses. Similarly, we can also represent the different modes of failure of fork also. So what you have to do, first of all you have to identify the modes of failure of single part, and you have to write down the stress equations. For example, if you write the stress equation for this failure mode, you can get that equation, stress equation, which includes the force, which includes the stress parameter, and which includes the dimensional parameter, and from that equation you can easily calculate the dimensional parameter. So this is the approach that we are going to follow. At the end of this slide, I would like to summarize this in this way. So we have to consider the different types of failure modes of single part. Like I explained, for eye, two different modes of eye are considered. Similarly, for pin, we have to consider two or three different modes of failure. Now let us talk about the technical name to this failure. So first is eye under tensile failure. So this type of failure is called as tensile failure, and it is because of the tensile stress. Similarly, this type of failure of eye is because of the shear stress, and thus we call it as a shear failure. Similarly, this type of failure of pin is called as shear failure. It is because of shear stress. And last one is this type of failure of pin is because of the bending stress. So we consider this as a pin under bending failure. So in this way, we have to apply the different types of failure mode to the one part, and we have to write the stress equation for that corresponding part in order to get the dimensions. So this is about the design approach which is used to design the knuckle joint. Now thanks for watching this video. If you have any doubt related to this video, you can mention in the comment section.